A lot of contractors chase leads like they're gambling. How do you get them to think like investors instead of gamblers?
They chase leads like they're gambling. I think that's a condition of not owning your lead generation process. When you are constantly outsourcing the lead generation process to other companies and other marketing agencies, you're always what's the term? 1 foot out the door, right? Like you're never fully invested. You never really have skin in the game. So you're always 1 foot out the door. So you're always like, all right, buddy, I'll give you $1,000. Let's see how long it takes you to piss me off and prove me right that you suck at what you, right? They're always, they never have the full confidence that that team can actually succeed. And so I think if people were to make a stronger commitment towards owning the lead generation, and this isn't a pitch for me, this isn't a pitch to say, go get a call center from Peter at Scalable. Can I address the concern first? Yeah, because I think that's an important, like you brought up something super important, which is the negative connotation, which is, I mean, a little surprising, but I guess a little bit not. It's a little surprising. Well, no, it's not surprising to me because most of the time when people hear the term call center, they conflate it with having rented one out. So like a BPO service. In other words, they go to a call center and they buy appointments from them. Yep. Right. And the call center sells them appointments. That I'm totally not surprised gets negative connotation because, well, I mean, I guess it's not a surprise to anyone. The call center is in it to make money for themselves. Right, they're in it to cash the paycheck. They don't really care that much what the final outcome is. They don't really care that much if you make any money or if you're happy with the final product. So that part doesn't really surprise me. And then I throw in the fact that most of them are overseas. And when I say overseas, I mean like overseas, like, you know, Pakistan, Philippines, India, Bangladesh, countries like that, where once they've got your money, you probably wire them the money, first of all. So you have no recourse. So they really don't care because they have no accountability.
So you've run retail, wholesale, service, and now B2B. Which business model is the most brutal to operate day by day?
Solar.
Solar?
Yeah, solar. So solar is so difficult because no one needs it. That's it. I mean, you just, no one needs solar. Like if you got a leaky roof, that's a real problem. That's serious urgency. If your AC is out in the middle of Phoenix, that's like life or death. You know, those are real urgent matters. So if someone calls you and says, hey, can we come and do your AC tune-up? And it just went out that morning. The answer is yes, absolutely. Bring someone out here today. But there's no equivalent in solar. There's no solar emergency. No husband, you know, no wife has ever shaken her husband and said, honey, call the solar guy today.
But
we need panels.
Isn't something that we want?
It's a nice to have at best because the main benefit in solar is a little bit of financial savings, usually 20%. And those guys are getting shaken out right now. All those guys that you're referring to right now, we call them the solar bros.
Solar bros?
Yeah, the solar bros. They're all getting shaken out. All those guys have, they've all migrated away from the solar industry because everything is about to get tremendously harder because now the solar tax credit's going away at the end of this year. So they don't get to sell on easy, quick savings. Now they have to sell on long-term savings, which requires a much more mature approach to selling solar. So it's a more difficult task.
You know what I absolutely hate? That those guys have ruined their reputation. I would say they show their true characters. Like I've met few people at last winter storm in Dallas. So they came from solar, and I see you guys penetrating roofing industry now, and ask what's your background. And I remember just 2-3 years ago, they were coming to the roofing to partner with the solar. They were promising this, and that, and then miserably failed, right? And to the point where they should be almost prosecuted for the promises, fake advertising, all of that. So obviously it's folded. And they don't want to be accountable. Now they're switching their pitch and they're coming to the roofing industry with a different product. I'm like, well, 2 years ago you were promising me this, and now you're promising me this, and you want me to trust. Like, where's accountability? Where's coming clean and say, hey, I was wrong. Like, I was selling BS, and I'm not gonna do it no more. Forgive me, right? Like, there's no recourse. I feel bad for them because cancel culture is real. And I would say this.
No, it's now called accountability culture. You have to get your terminology straight. Yeah.
Whatever you call it, accountability. The thing is, roofers are the nicest crowd. Like roofers are so forgiven, like they're so open-hearted. But if you lie to them, if you do bad things, they will make you accountable.
Yeah.
It's like they're trusting you at first. They'll give you benefit of the doubt. They'll trust your promise. But if you screw with them, you're out.
Well, I think you've just described most people in general, right? I mean, isn't that kind of most people in general? It's like fool me once sort of mentality.
Kind of.
Yeah.
You've built multiple businesses, but like, how do you make that decision?
That's, I think that just comes down, I think that should slap you in the face. I think that should be such an obvious thing that it should slap you in the face. I was just having this conversation with a good close friend of mine who actually works with me, and we were talking about exactly that subject. I was telling him, I'm like, I've had multiple businesses, many of which were completely not scalable, and I never poured my heart into them because I knew it wasn't worth the time or effort to do so. This business is very different. This business is extremely scalable, and it already has been, and it's proven to be an incredibly powerful one. And it's because it helps, because it provides value. I mean, if it didn't, it wouldn't be scalable, right? The things are only scalable if they provide value to the end user. That end user then compensates you for the value that they received, and then you repeat the process again. That's scaling a business.
A lot of contractors chase leads like they're gambling. How do you get them to think like investors instead of gamblers?
They chase leads like they're gambling. I think that's a condition of not owning your lead generation process. When you are constantly outsourcing the lead generation process to other companies and other marketing agencies, you're always what's the term? 1 foot out the door, right? Like you're never fully invested. You never really have skin in the game. So you're always 1 foot out the door. So you're always like, all right, buddy, I'll give you $1,000. Let's see how long it takes you to piss me off and prove me right that you suck at what you, right? They're always, they never have the full confidence that that team can actually succeed. And so I think if people were to make a stronger commitment towards owning the lead generation, and this isn't a pitch for me, this isn't a pitch to say, go get a call center from Peter at Scalify, but do something where you own your lead generation process, whether that's having a door-to-door, a team, whether that's having your own internal call center, whether that's having someone who works for you internally who runs your social media, or an entire team like you do, owning your process, because now you can't blame anyone. The only person you get to blame is yourself. Look, I can only speak for myself, right? I speak to my own experience with what I do. What I do is I provide a server that is fully done for you, right? So in theory, you don't need to be involved. In theory, you can just say, Peter, you do everything, right? In theory, not in theory, in reality, that's what I do. But I will still say this. I will still say the guy who is fully uninvolved and fully just, hands up in the air and say, I want nothing to do with it, just sit back and let the leads come in, he'll do fine. He'll do okay. But the guy who puts in just 2% extra effort and pays a little bit of attention as to what's going on and keeps his finger on the pulse. I'm not saying he has to put in an hour a day or 2 hours a day, none of that. But if he just puts in 2 to 5 minutes a day of just paying attention to what's going on for literally 2 to 5 minutes, that person has an entirely different experience.
What's the bigger challenge? Training good callers or teaching owners to let go of control and trust the system?
Training good callers.
Training good callers. How long does it take?
They're both difficult, but definitely training good callers is the most important. That's the hardest part of the whole thing. The hardest part of, but this answers your first question too. The biggest challenge with running a successful call center is the human element. It is the agents. That's everything. That's A to Z. That's absolutely everything. If you put in the effort to train your agents, you will get good outcome. If you just manage them from a distance and don't pay attention to what's going on, well, I think you know what you're going to get. So by far, that's the most important element of the entire equation. And then so what happens is when you outsource it to a call center and they're just selling you the appointments, they can't provide the same level of focus to every single client. They have to get out those appointments knocked out.